What's up, everyone? My name's Chris Marshall with my boy Frank G. We are the host, Build Your Empires podcast. Frank G, tell the people what we do.
What's going on, everybody? Chris and I, we discuss established empires while showcasing us building ours.
Frank G, guess what?
What, Chris?
Thanks for, imitating my tone. Appreciate that. That's my boy. It was awkward for you. But we're bringing Ankit back on the show. Ankit, we gave him a permanent slot. He kind of has not lived up to his name and ditched us since. But we love him as a friend. Ankit, welcome back.
Great to be back, guys. Appreciate the call back to the show. And
call back, yeah. I mean, we said, Ankit, we want you on. What do? You fly to my ass.
I couldn't help myself, man.
The on the first plane.
It was my birthday. The deal was too good. I was like, I gotta bail.
I understand. But when I was like, Ankit, we have a show in 3 days, and you're like, yeah, and then a day before, you're gone.
So is Miami.
That's the power of stocks, man. You make money. You deserve to spend it sometimes, brother.
The power of stocks.
Wow,
I thought he said scotch at first.
Well, that just sounds like a great story to lead into. Power of stocks.
Or scotch.
Or
I mean, I had one hell of a story with scotch the other night, I suppose.
Well, you want to share that or?
No, I do not. We'll talk about the stocks input. Ankit, right off the bat, I got a question for you since I guess you're almost like the Build Your Empire business advisor over here. Is Robinhood and Acorns are premier applications and platforms in order to trade on, correct?
Robinhood, yes. Acorns does all of their managing. They manage your assets or your money for you. Yeah. So Robinhood definitely is one where you can, trade very frequently, and that's a trading platform. Acorns does it all for you, though. That's
okay. Yeah, I have them both. I guess I should have, clarified there. Robinhood, though, and me and you spoke off air, got hacked. Now, That's kind of worrisome because I have a good amount of cash in there, and I'm sitting there wondering, is your money insured on these applications and platforms?
It's a great question. It's a very good question, to be honest. I would expect it to be so, but is it insured against that type of theft? I'm not sure. Is it insured against Robinhood going out of business tomorrow? Like if the company Robinhood goes out of business, you are insured against that. The money will be there. Your account, as long as it's below $250,000, will be there. You will get that money and those shares back. When it comes to theft, that is a definitely a different ballgame, and it's a tougher question to answer. I'm not sure. My guess as for how this happened, I'm not sure. I haven't done all the research, but my guess is that there's just phishing emails. It's simple stuff. When you get an email asking to change your password, make sure that email is actually coming from Robinhood and not coming from, some random email domain, and just be careful.
Is that same policy with the bank? If you so happen to get your money withdrawn from the bank, I know the bank essentially insures you, even if you're hacked. I mean, I once had money deposited in my bank that wasn't mine, and they made sure they took that right back.
Oh, yeah, that's for sure.
So banks are, when it comes to your credit card, right? If it comes to your debit card and you have fraud on your debit card, the banks really don't care as much because the debit card is your money. That's money that you made, that's in your checking account that you spent. When you're spending on credit, you're spending the bank's money, right? And then you owe the bank in a month. So when you're spending the bank's money, they're much more likely to fight, right? They're much more likely to actually figure out whether it was fraud, to put money behind that investigation, to put their team on it, because that's technically their money, and they need to figure out if their money has been exposed.
So I rock a 785-ish credit score. If I was to call my credit card company, tell them, hey, this is fraud, no questions asked, immediately they removed it. Thank you, sir. Have a good day. If I had a 580 credit score, would I be investigated?
Yeah, well, they still do the investigation no matter what.
Well, I mean, yeah, but they literally just asked me like, where were you? I was here. I don't know where this charge came from. And that's that.
Yeah, I mean that's happened to me as well, but I also have a high 780, so
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I wonder if they treat people differently.
So that's again, like I wouldn't expect your credit. That would be a form of discrimination, in my opinion, to treat someone with a different lower credit score in that way.
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it would be considered discrimination. So I don't think they'd be allowed to do that. I'm sure they would, still investigate it either way. But it kind of goes back to like one of the safe practices. If you're ever buying anything online, use a credit card, not a debit card.
I've heard that many
Yeah,
times
those
growing up.
are the types of things you want to do, because if someone gets your debit card, the bank again is not going to fight for you as hard as your credit card,
Yeah.
as they will on a credit card. And your debit card doesn't have the same limits, right? Like your credit cards usually have a daily limit on how much they'll let you spend, or they'll call you if there's anything
Notification,
odd.
yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot more security when it comes to a credit card.
I would always use the credit card, one, because it's safer, it seems, and two, I mean, you get points or whatever.
You double up.
You
Yeah.
get the points too.
So you're spending the money you have, obviously, as that's why your credit
And
score
you
is
make some
780.
money. Yeah. Now, Ankit, I know we'll get into stocks here, but credit's interesting. I've been hearing a lot lately, or reading it, I guess, throughout social media, where people believe that credit is a scam. I don't see it. I think this is just a bizarre statement. What do you feel about that?
Yeah, there's a lot of people who believe that capitalism is bad, that
Capitalism is great.
Is a scam. Yeah, there's a lot of people out there that look at these things, and
that's my boy.
In my opinion, they're just not informed as per how you can use it to your advantage. They're always on the other side, where they're spending more money than they make, and they're spending more money than they have, and then they can't pay off that credit card bill.
Well, what's ironic is that the middle class, who you would think is in the middle of the totem pole, are actually the ones spending more than they make.
Yeah, and the reason, because is the middle class has access to credit, right? The lowest class, you don't have the same. If you wanted to go out and buy a car tomorrow, you're going to have some trouble. You're going to have a very high interest rate, which might make you second guess it. The middle class, if I wanted to go out and buy a car, I probably wouldn't have a problem doing that. But can you pay that for that car? Can you pay it back? That's a much bigger question, and that's where people over leverage themselves.
But so we've had shows, me and Frank, of this a million times, saying, what are the worst mistakes people can make financially, at least through our age, right? From 18, 25, 30. And we think one of them is buying a car, a pimped out, souped up car at like 22. You get like a Lexus, you can't afford it. How is that even? How do you even get that? I don't understand. I don't understand how people put themselves in that position.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, some people don't prioritize their future, right? They look at today. It's very short-term thinking, and they say, I want this car. This is great. It's $500 a month, $800 a month. I can afford that, and I'm going to buy it. And what they don't realize is, sure, maybe you can afford $800 a month, but can you afford that if you were to have a hit to your income? If your income was to go down.
Yeah,
plus children, plus food, plus fun.
They're not thinking about these things.
Yeah,
they just want to get some dome in the back.
But I mean, they're looking at a paycheck, thinking, okay, if the car payment's $500, I make $700 a month. They're not thinking about any type of breakdowns, they're not type of gas, everything.
Insurance, gas. If you get into a car accident, your insurance is going to go up. If you're buying a used car, then you're going to have more damage and more repairs on that. If you're buying a new car, it's depreciation right off the bat. So buying a car is not. It's known to not be a good purchase, because it's a heavy purchase. It's a big number. It's probably one of your first 5-figure purchases that you make, and it depreciates very quickly.
My sister's about to buy a car. Like, we literally had this discussion, so she's just gonna have to open up Build Your Empire 84.
Well, we said numerous times buying a car potentially could be one of the worst decisions you can make growing up, with college being the other one, and then I forgot the third.
Well, college and circumstances, obviously. You could go to
Correct.
Yeah,
I'm sure. Ankit would definitely argue that one.
Chris knows how I feel about that. Yeah.
Ankit, doing a 180, heading over to the stock market. I mean, right now, it's a crazy time. I mean, if we spoke 2 weeks ago, it was on a downward trend, and it didn't look like it was coming back up. All of a sudden, shot up thousands. Now we're kind of back down. What do you think's hot? What do you think's not? I mean, what's going on?
Yeah, it's interesting. Definitely. I've been in the market since I was 19, which means that I've been in it for about 7 years.
2 years.
Yeah, 2 years. No, it's been about 7 years since I started really looking at stocks, and this would probably be the most interesting 7-8 months I have ever had in this. In this game, or while playing around with stocks.
I mean, I can talk to my father, who's almost 70, and probably say the same shit.
You probably have something similar to say, yeah. And so part of what's happening right now is that the news is changing so fast, and it's unsure as for what is correct and what's not. 1 week you have, Donald Trump and the president's coming out saying, "Hey, look, we're going to have a vaccine by the end of the year." And then the next week you hear that, these vaccine trials actually failed, and it's probably going to be pushed back. And companies like Johnson & Johnson, their tests are going to have to get pushed back further. So this information is changing so quickly. You have the election coming up, which just adds more and more volatility, because, if Biden wins, it's presumed that tax rates are going to go up. If Trump wins, you can probably bet on like coal as opposed to, clean energy, maybe like electric vehicles or, solar. So there's a lot of uncertainty in the market right now. And uncertainty is something that the stock market does not like whatsoever. So when you saw a couple of weeks ago, all of those, all of that dropping, everything dropping, is really the uncertainty that was pushing it. And what has happened since then is people have kind of settled in, realized the coronavirus is probably going to be here a little longer than we had expected, even if a vaccine comes out. And so even if a vaccine comes out, you won't have the distribution. It's clear that
you have to scale that. I was thinking the same thing. If we were to get the vaccine tomorrow, I would say we would still be living like this for 8 to 12 months.
Yeah, and it's not clear if everyone would take it, right? Like I was talking to a friend of mine that's a nurse, just 2 days ago, and she was saying that if a vaccine was to come out within the next 2 days, next week, she would not take it. And she's a nurse. She works in a hospital on a day-to-day basis. And the reason being is that normally these vaccines have such a long runway and so many tests that they go through that it's safe when it comes out. This is it
would be like a first trial kind of thing.
Yeah, this is a scenario where the entire world
where are the guinea pigs if it came out that early?
Well,
exactly.
I've read the articles actually that like the guinea pigs are actually showing negative signs of the vaccines taken.
And that's the Johnson & Johnson, the one I was talking about earlier. They're actually halting a lot of these tests, unfortunately. So that, it's really the uncertainty. And when that uncertainty hit, people went back to looking at what worked the first time, right? What worked when coronavirus hit originally? And it was your big tech stocks, right? It was your Netflix, it was your Zoom, it was the companies that should survive and do well through the coronavirus. It was Amazon, it was Apple.
But Zoom can't pop off again if the coronavirus pops off. It already reached it peaked.
Yeah.
We're still turning into using all that technology. So it's definitely got a little bit of a run still.
Yeah. It's an interesting thought. It's something I was actually having a conversation with my brother the other day, and I mentioned something similar to him, and he brought up a great point, which is that the market and people in general are much, much slower to change their habits than you think. Right now, if it was discovered that flying would still be okay, you would probably see business travel come back, right? People would start flying, people would start driving and other offices and things. But if this coronavirus goes on for another year and everyone gets adjusted to Zoom, everyone gets, adjusted to online virtual meetings, that might not be the case anymore. Companies might realize how much they can save and then stop sending people on travel in total, regardless of whether you can or not.
I think that's already happening, right? Companies are already auditing
100%.
their bottom line.
Yeah, for sure.
But I guess my point was, like, when we first quarantined, I was with Frank G drinking a bottle on Zoom. We no longer do that.
Mm-hmm.
So a company like Zoom, I can't see increasing more. However, Amazon, I'm buying more and more shit randomly because I'm just getting bored.
Yeah.
And I could also see, like, with travel, I mean, because I know for sure, like you said, companies cutting the bottom line. I mean, my company definitely has cut their travel budget for 2021 in half. So it's already projected they're traveling way less for an entire year.
Yeah. And Chris, going back to the whole thing about Zoom, it's up to now, Zoom has this base, right? They have people who use it, including, us on a day-to-day basis with work, even filming this, this podcast right now. Zoom has its base of customers now that are probably not going away. So their next question is, how can you squeeze out a little bit more revenue from the customers you already have, right? They built a large base of customers. How can you actually squeeze out more? Now, one of the things they're doing is they actually announced, I think it was last week.
That's like when we were talking about Fitbit.
Oh man, Fitbit was one of, well, we'll get into that story in a sec. But one thing I wanted to mention about Zoom, they actually announced that they're going to be doing Zoom concerts soon, where you can buy a ticket.
I've heard that, yeah.
The Zoom, and is that something I personally would do? Probably not.
No,
but you look
stream
at you look at the amount of people that were doing those, Fortnite concerts and stuff. Maybe there's a market for it.
I definitely think there's a market to it. I do not think Zoom is gonna get any of it. I think YouTube has the majority of it. I think the artists know where to go, and they're not going to Zoom.
You never know, man. Zoom could give them a good deal, right? If YouTube gives them 20%, Zoom.
Well, they'd have to change their platform.
Well, the thing is, though, Zoom doesn't have they don't have distribution, right? YouTube has all these users. Yes. They can tell, hey, this artist is having a concert on this date, come through. Zoom, the artist has to do it all.
Yeah. I mean, hey, what I guess the answer to that is we'll find out, right? They're doing it. They're doing it. So we'll find out, whether or not it's successful. That's kind of how Zoom continues to go up moving forward. They're going to have to figure out new ways to monetize. Maybe they start charging business customers more. Just because you start charging customers more doesn't mean they're going to go away. Because what else are they going to go to?
The reason why I also brought Fitbit is because I recently just got one, shout out to our job. And when me and you were speaking about it, it's like, all right, the Fitbit's cool. There's accessories or applications, I suppose. But they don't make money from a back-end sale at all.
Yeah. And, Fitbit, believe it or not, Fitbit was something I had actually years and years ago. It was probably the absolute worst stock pick I have ever had in my life. and what happened was I just recently opened a Robinhood account at that time. I threw about $200 in there. I was young and I said, I bought this Fitbit. I liked it. And I put the money into the Fitbit stock and I just totally forgot about it. I legitimately, forgot that I even had a Robinhood account, forgot about it. And you check it a few years later and the stock is down like 70, 80%. Fitbit does have that issue. It's a major issue in that they cannot monetize it's very difficult for them to monetize existing customers. You get the first upfront sale, you get revenue from there, but how do you continue to make money from them? It's something they have not been able to do since the company started. I believe Google bought them, I think a year or two ago. And so now,
I believe so. Yeah, but that it's actually interesting though that seeing this happen with Zoom and Fitbit, it seems like technology companies can almost pigeonhole themselves in the same way. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, Garmin, right? You look at Garmin is another one where Now they're starting to get into wearable technology, but for years, Garmin was just like, you know, satellite navigation, and they really didn't do anything else. And
Dude,
that was a tech.
I was just shown an ad of the Oculus. I was about to buy it.
I've heard cool things. My cousin used to work for Facebook, so he told me it's great. He told me it's fantastic.
I know my boy Frank G would like that.
Jesus. Keep it PG over there.
Whoa. This is audio, baby.
Well, you can catch us also on YouTube.
You could, but majority of our listeners are listening on all our platforms such as Spotify, Apple. We appreciate you every Monday and Thursday. Coming right at you. Ankit, you got any hot stocks for us?
Yeah, I mean, a couple things, it kind of goes back to what we were saying earlier.
Because AbbVie is on fire.
No, I was just thinking about that today. That's hilarious that you said that.
Telling you,
I
man,
literally
AbbVie,
was just thinking about that today.
So look, AbbVie, right?
Man.
AbbVie is not a stock that's going to go from 0 to 100, right? It's not this
it's going 0. It's going 180.
Yeah.
But what they do have, they have the biggest drug in the world, right? They have Humira, which is it's not going away. You'll be fine. It pays like
that's the new name they call weed, huh?
I think you'll be good. No, I think you'll be good with AbbVie. Just hold it for the long term.
So are you saying buy AbbVie now or no?
You could. I actually at $85, $86, I actually do think AbbVie is a decent price. There's a few more interesting things going on right now because this is a big earnings season that we're about to go into.
Earnings season. It's the best time of the year.
One of the most interesting companies I have been looking at that I was thinking about opening a position in, it's actually called Mercado Libre. And for people who haven't heard about it, I'm not sure if you guys know about it either. It's basically the Amazon of South America. Right. So not only are they the Amazon, they're practically Amazon with Shopify and with a few other things, cloud services and all of this mixed together. And they basically dominate all of South America without many other large competitors. So the stock.
So Ankit, sorry to cut you off. How do you analyze something like that? Right. I see Amazon. I use Amazon. Alibaba, not so much. That's like China's Amazon, right?
Somewhat. Alibaba is like wholesale. It's like Amazon.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And now you're talking about South America. Like, how do you calculate that?
Right.
From a U.S. standpoint.
Right. And this is where you start to have a little bit of math get involved when you're looking at stocks. You have to look at how. No, I mean, it's more simple. And, one way to look at it, right? You don't actually have to calculate the numbers. There are platforms that'll do that for you. Robinhood will do that for you. If you look at the PE ratio, right? The PE ratio is, in a way, it's one way to figure out how expensive you are paying for something, right? It's the number of years of earnings that you are paying for at a specific price. So in order to compare two stocks together or to kind of get a good idea as for where it's going, there is a little bit of math involved. If you learn how to do that math, and there's a few good books that can show you how to do that. If you learn how to do that math, it'll benefit you a ton. And, it'll allow you to generate your own ideas and figure out whether something's expensive or not.
So we're gonna write this down, similar to AbbVie, and we're going to begin, I guess, to keep your score, just like how Frank has a pickup rate, 65%. We're going to keep track. What is the ticker of what you right now?
Mercado Libre. I believe the ticker is MELI.
MELI. So we're going to have this on the watch list here.
Sure.
Are we saying that ABBV is a negative for him?
No.
Well, it's not that it's negative, and he said it's a long term really from the jump, right? Because it's like Botox and medicine, and if you can't go to the doctor and receive that type of shit during the coronavirus, then it makes sense that particular stock is not going to jump up.
So it's just part of the ups and downs of what's going on right now.
Yeah, and remember, listeners, you only lose if you sell. So technically, Ankit I still have him. I
Yeah,
buy
and
more.
one of the things,
You lower your buying cost.
yeah, one of
I
the things Chris
suppose.
told me, before we jumped on this call, right, is to try and explain a little bit about my investing theory, how I have actually made money in the past in the stock market. And one of the things I try to remember all the time is you should buy when other people are fearful and sell when other people are greedy, right? So when things seem very bleak, like I think, Frank, you mentioned airlines a few weeks ago. When things seem bleak for an industry, oftentimes if you find a good company that you believe has turnaround potential, that could be a good buy. And that could be a good buy at a really good price. So Chris knows, way back in March when COVID was really going into full swing, I was throwing money into the market left and right, hand over fist, as much money as I could find. I was throwing it into the market because I knew that there are good companies out there like your Amazon, your Microsoft, your Salesforce, your Tesla.
If Ankit told me 10 stocks to buy back then, I listened to him and bought 2, and I'm currently down.
So the list is much longer than we thought.
Yeah, but the other 8 are rocking. It's just I didn't buy Salesforce or PayPal. I bought Starwood and Avi.
Yeah, I just got in when everything went crazy. So
yeah, and so that's a great time to buy, right? So when you're
Perfect
looking
time.
at these companies, you look at a company like AbbVie. AbbVie does not have the best outlook at the moment, and the reason being is that they're very dependent on with this new. They just spent hundreds of millions of dollars to purchase a new company which does Botox, allergen. And so Botox is currently, irrelevant at the moment. When people cannot go out, you cannot see each other, it's not really improving their bottom line at all. But the moment that turns around, the moment that people are allowed to go out again, people are allowed to see each other again, you should start to see those numbers.
It's going to be a boom.
The business put out a lot better numbers. So this could be one of those times. It might not, but it could be one of those times where you might actually want to buy a little bit more if you're holding on and hold it for a little bit of a longer term. More exciting stocks though. I know, Chris knows I started a blog recently, and the first stock
You want to give that blog a shouty?
Yeah. The blog is nittanyfinance.com, NITTANY finance.
I know where Frank's thinking. It's savage.
And yeah, I mean, the first post I wrote there, it's about PayPal. And PayPal, if you look at the numbers, I think it is a fantastic outlook. It's in a great industry where, cash is no longer king, right? No one really pays with cash very frequently anymore. No one carries that much cash anymore.
You don't even want to hold cash. It's Jeremy.
You don't want to hold cash, yeah. And so, you're in a situation where PayPal is poised to improve over time, and they've already committed to spending billions and billions of dollars to buy other companies which are growing. And so that growth should continue. And I think it's if you want to learn a little bit more, you can go over to the blog and take a look there. But I think it's a great stock.
How often do you blog?
I started the blog right before going to Miami.
Right before dipping out.
And
right before he no-showed us, he wrote one blog, went to Miami, and then deleted his social media.
And so there's a second post there, which I actually think the second post is probably going to be more beneficial than the one about PayPal. The second one is about ways you can actually save money. And saving money is the first step to investing money, right? If you don't have the money to invest, then you can't. So the question that a lot of people come into, especially people like you mentioned, who live paycheck to paycheck, bad credit scores, things like that. First step is try to figure out a way you can save a little bit of money. That way you can put that money to work. And so for a lot of the people who are newer, first thing I would say, focus on that other article about saving and try to figure out ways you could save money. Once you have a little bit of money, you can figure out how to invest that.
And then the goal, once you save it and invest it, is to create passive income to supplement your expenses.
Yeah, or hopefully pay your full expenses, right? Then you retire.
Pay for your Miami flight and a P jet.
So I will tell you, you know,
I was thinking like rent, but I guess Frank G over there, he wants to live the lavish lifestyle.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, just don't put your money on AbbVie.
You never know, man. 7% dividend yield. That'll pay for whatever you want. You just have to have enough money in there.
I thought about it, to be honest, when I looked at it, but I was like, "Ooh, it's down." It was like 99 when you first said it.
Yeah. And my cost average on AbbVie, you know, I've actually been in it for a few years. My cost average is a lot lower, and so for me, in order to recommend it, I would say it's a little bit easier. You know, now I think at 80s, in the mid 80s, that actually is not a bad time to buy. I sold a little bit as it approached 100. But, you know, in the mid 80s, I still think you're getting a pretty decent deal on it.
Ankit, we got 2-3 minutes left on the show. We love having you since you are our boy. Hopefully we link up one of these days. Frank G, maybe we should come down to a Midtown Manhattan and show Ankit really how we live, because Ankit says he could hang. I think he could. I'm unsure. But Ankit, I'm going to put you on the hook one last time.
All right, he's ready.
All right, I'm ready.
Yeah. You know, it's what I do. Anticipation. Give us one more hot stock.
One more hot stock.
I'm writing it down. Don't worry. Give us the ticker and the name.
Salesforce.
Oh,
you want to look at a strong
Salesforce.
company? Yeah, you want to look at a strong company, you look at Salesforce. It's a company that's, you know, it's incredibly sticky. The moment a business decides to use Salesforce, it's very difficult to move to one of their competitors. Beyond that, it's all about big data. They're purchasing big data companies left and right. Tableau was one of their biggest acquisitions last year. And so they're a company that's committed to growth.
Sure, you know, they're hiring.
They're committed to growth. The money is stable, right? Like they have consistent recurring revenues, not like Fitbit. You know, it's something where that money is going to come in and month out, which gives them money to spend on growth. And, you know, even more recently, the CEO came out saying that they were going to go, I believe, carbon negative or carbon neutral over the next few years. And no company, the similar, you know, theory I have with Microsoft is that no company comes out in public and says they're going to spend billions of dollars to become more environmentally friendly, which does not help your bottom line. You know, that doesn't help make you more money. It's just good for the environment. No company does that unless you foresee that you are going to do really well moving forward. No investor would want to hear that, you know, this company is about to spend billions and billions of dollars if they were in trouble of, you know, going under. And so I think this, you know, Salesforce is another great pick. Just hold it long term. It is a little expensive. It just ran up after earnings. So if you can get it closer to like 240, you know, 245-ish, you'd probably get a little bit of a nicer price there. But I think long term it'll be good.
Ankit, we always appreciate your phenomenal and sound advice. And we thank you for always hopping on. What I'm curious about, though, is you just said you worked out 5 days in a row and you needed a day off, but then you were like, hey, are we starting this podcast? I got to go to the gym. So
doing cardio today.
Yeah, Frank G, I don't know who to believe.
I mean, once you're in the grind, man, good for you.
I get it, but he also said he'll be on the show and then went to Miami. Who knows? Who knows?
Nah, man, doing cardio today's a little bit of a lighter day, not lifting so much. So.
And Ankit, I also saw what you did there with Salesforce. You picked a very safe, conservative bet.
Hey, dude, telling you, it's PayPal, and PayPal is the same thing. And you know, sometimes it's not the most, not the sexiest, most confusing name that's always going to do well for you. So, yeah.
I don't care what name is sexy. Veronica could sure make it look sexy.
But yeah, you know, you look at sometimes not the
don't
crazy
shake your head at me.
fast companies is the best one. Look at things that are household names. It's always a good choice.
Ankit, you're the man. Frank G, you got something to say?
I appreciate you back on. I guess we look forward to having you again, man. Just don't go anywhere on us.
I'll take a few less vacations. Don't worry. No, I appreciate it, and I'll see you guys soon. Thanks for having me on.
Later.